All right, so this video is a request to pretty much go over the skin or integumentary system. First and foremost, thanks for tuning in. Secondly, sorry for speaking so fast. I'm just trying to get over the material as fast as I can and as adequate as I can. Also understand that it is a 5-hour class, and it's a 5-hour lesson that I'm going to try to condense in at least 5 minutes. These are just points on things that you should study, things that the professor expects. I can't name his name. I can't name the university. Now, first things first, I'm not going to go over 100% on every single concept, but just pretty much bullet points. So first things that we are not worrying about are the 5 layers of the epidermis. So the integumentary system or the skin system, learn the functions. We have the resistance to trauma and infection, the other barrier functions, vitamin D synthesis, sensation, thermal regulation, and nonverbal communication. So you're going to see this on page 176 of your textbook, and it goes all the way to page 177. So on your slides, you are going to see on slide 6-4, it's 177's diagram. Get familiar and comfortable with this, because here you're going to see the ripping part of this cross-section of the skin, the sagittal plane. What's ripping is the epidermis, and the underlying part is the dermis. So he wants us to focus on both epidermis and dermis as layers of skin. He does not want us to worry about the actual hypodermis. So disregard hypodermis as a layer right now. We're not worrying about that for the sake of the exam. Now, remember the importance of learning and understanding the functions of a system. Whenever we learn a new system, functions, absolutely, have to learn them. The next thing, we're going to learn about the types of cells of the epidermis. The very main ones, there are 5, but the main ones, stem cells, keratinocytes, and melanocytes. That's on slide 6-10, and that's on pages 178, really. It's just page 178 because the last two, the tactile cells and the dendritic cells, well, learn the dendritic, don't learn tactile. So focus on stem cells, keratinocytes, focus on melanocytes, focus on dendritic cells. Another thing that we're going to focus on is on skin color. So we're going to focus on melanin and the melanocytes. We're also going to focus on irregular skin colors, things that are caused by other things like the hemoglobin, and you're going to see that on page 182. You are going to learn about carotene. I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing that. That's when you eat like a lot of carrots, a lot of fruits and vegetables that have yellow pigment, then you're also going to have that pigment until you flush it out. Cyanosis, still on page 182, because now we're learning about pathological ways of changing skin tone, skin color. So you have erythema, you have pallor, stretching on page 183. We're still on skin color. Then albinism, jaundice, and hematoma. Freckles, birthmarks, flexion lines, these are all skin markings that we're also going over. So number 1, what is the skin? Learning layers. Number 2, cell types. Number 3, skin color. What happens? How do you get it? Number 4, skin markings, right? Your flexion lines, right? Your creases, all of these things, how it happens. Freckles as well. Where are they common? Then we jump into hair. 3 types. So remember, your lanugo, your vellus hair, your terminal hair. That's on page 185. So we already jumped from skin to hair, and now we're going to go to nails. Now, before jumping into nails, remember, page 187, you want to see this diagram, and you want to freaking memorize that goddamn diagram. Cuticle, cortex, medulla, your melanin, your pheomelanin, know where that is, know where to find it, know how different hair types have different cross sections, right? If it's straight, doesn't matter the color, the cross section is going to be a circle. If it's wavy or curly, your cross section is going to be an oval. Go over what happens to people with gray hair, people that get older. The medulla, the diameter actually increases in size, and inside of the medulla you get actually air. So that air is what gives the hair this transparent and grayish looking color. We didn't go over too heavy on the hair cycle, and we jumped straight onto nails We learned that it's compact hard keratin that you have on your nails. We also learned that the nail was actually pretty short. It was, to be honest, not the most interesting part of the class. Glands. You need to know your glands. He went over it in 2 days. Both days that you were in class, he went over it. Apocrine glands. Link it with pheromones when you're reading it. Merocrine glands. Link it with thermoregulation, your regular sweat, when you're reading it. Ceruminous glands. Link it with your earwax, with cerumen. Mammary glands. You definitely know what that is. And I'm missing one gland. Give me 1 second. Sebaceous glands. That's on your scalp. It's a gland that produces, secretes this oily substance. It's not regular sweat. It's a little bit more oily because it has more fatty acids. You need to know these 5 glands. Absolutely. Also, on page 191, on the bottom where it says before you go on, you pretty much want to read that. So how do merocrine and apocrine sweat glands differ in structure and function? Very important. What other type of gland is associated with hair follicles? Very important. What's the difference between the breast and the mammary gland? Super important. Let's go to skin cancer. Very basic. We already learned about cancer. You got benign and you got malignant tumors. But here for the skin, we're learning about basal cell carcinoma. Very, very common. He said if you were to choose one of them, if you had to choose basal cell carcinoma, it's on page 192. You have squamous cell carcinoma and the worst one, melanoma. Sorry, squamous cell carcinoma, and then you have melanoma. The skin cancer that arises from melanocytes. It accounts for no more than 5% of skin cancers, but once you detect it, chances of you living like 6 months is like 5 to 14%. But yeah, so okay, sorry to bum you out. So now we have the ABCD of melanoma. It's a mnemonic that he wants us to memorize. Right here, page 193. If this irregularity on your skin is asymmetrical, that's your A. A is for asymmetry. B is for border. C is for color. Look how black that thing is. And D is for diameter. All right, there's a certain diameter that I think it's 6 millimeters in diameter. That's pretty much a huge red flag. Let's see. I know I am going over this really quickly, but for the sake of time, please go over all of that. We did not go over burns. We went over... Okay, so UVA and UVB, so ultraviolet rays from the sun, actually affect the skin, and that doesn't let us synthesize vitamin D. He went over and said that vitamin D is not a vitamin but a hormone. We're going to learn more about that with the endocrine system. But for now, remember that UV light, UV rays, doesn't matter what ray, doesn't matter if it's UVA, which is what you get in the tanning. In a tanning booth, or UVB, which is the ones with a shorter wavelength and higher energy. It doesn't matter which one it is, it still affects your ability to actually synthesize vitamin D, which affects the ability for you to actually process calcium when you eat it. So that's that. Lastly, your study guide, page 198 to 199. Go to testing recall. You can skip, for now, questions 1, 2, 6, and 18. Skip them for now. Do the other 20. The answers are in Appendix B. Go over it. On Saturday, we're going to meet, and we're going to go over every study guide, and we're going to go over bones. Chapter 8 is bones. It's a skeletal system. We're not going to go over as bone as a tissue, which is Chapter 7, and it's long as fuck. We're going to go over Chapter 8. Chapter 8, because I can't do it now, is literally going bone by bone and understanding what they look like, what they do, how to find them. All right. We went over the skull bones today. We went over different views, different cross sections. We went over cranial bones. I feel like I'm repeating myself. We went over the vertebra. I feel like we didn't do much on bones. We were just naming them and nodding, nodding. He has a list that you have to memorize. We're going to go over that on Saturday a lot. So tomorrow you're going to go over it. Don't be discouraged. And then on Saturday, we're going to do it again. We actually stopped on page 249. So if you want to pick up exactly where we left off, it's page 249 from your textbook. All right. I hope that helped. And yeah, man, have a good one.